And every time they burst into song, I'm like, oh no, they're going to sing again. Come hang out with us in our bunker. It's cozy. We have music, and it's a nice place to hang out when the world ends. This is the end. This is from Joshua Oppenheimer, who's a very acclaimed documentary filmmaker making his first narrative feature. Alonso, please tell us about it.
I think I like her.
But you've never met anybody before.
And I know it can't turn back.
Some apocalypse or other has taken place. The movie is never super specific about this, but living in a secure bunker deep inside of a salt mine is a wealthy energy executive played by Michael Shannon, his wife, Tilda Swinton, a former ballet dancer, their son, George MacKay, who has never known life outside of the cave, and a doctor, a chef, and a butler who share the space with them. And we get to know sort of the minutia of their day-to-day lives and the kind of projects they create for themselves to keep themselves busy, and the prickly interpersonal relationships that exist. And then everything gets complicated with the arrival of Moses Ingram, a girl from outside. The character is just referred to as girl.
They all have no names. They're mother, father, and son.
It's son, father, friend, butler, doctor. And so, she kind of shakes up the dynamic, and they have to sort of figure out, do they take her in? And if they do, what are the consequences of that? Oh, and it's a musical.
Right. Which at least this trailer lets you know it's a musical. They're not hiding it.
For once.
Like other movies that are musicals and don't want you to know about that.
Yeah, I was just saying to somebody yesterday, like, I hope that Wicked does well enough that studios will not only keep making musicals, but market them as musicals.
Oh, right. They sing. So I think that's a really big swing. And I like a big swing to make this a musical apocalyptic drama. And I don't think the musical part of it works. And every time they burst into song, I'm like, oh no, they're going to sing again. And except for Moses Ingram, it's all intentionally kind of like not perfect, right? Like Michael Shannon, we saw him sing in George and Tammy. He can sing.
Sure.
Everyone else is like kind of okay. Like Tilda will do anything for a character.
Sure.
Will go to extremes, and she is trying to sing here, but maybe that's meant to indicate like a level of relatable humanity, that they are people just like us who are bursting into song. And then Moses Ingram arrives and she can really sing. And that is an interesting intentional choice to, indicate her outsider status.
Yeah. I mean, this is, and again, this is a musical in sort of the Jacques Demy sense, like Umbrellas of Cherbourg, where they're just singing regular conversations, and it kind of sounds like they're making it up as they go. So it's not like there are no hits in this one. I did think that Tilda's big number about her parents was pretty great. Like that was the one moment where I thought, this is what this movie is shooting for. And none of the other musical moments have the resonance of this, but this is, I see this and I think I see the movie that you maybe really wanted to make. You wanted a lot of moments that land with this kind of emotional power. I admire the hustle here. Like this is as unsafe as it gets for your first non-documentary. Like he is kicking out the jams and going for it in a big, big way. I don't think it really works in that. And I kind of have this problem, frankly, with his documentaries, which I know most people tend to like more than I do, where I feel like he's always telling you what they're about rather than just letting them be what they're about. And so this movie clearly has things to say about like climate change and how, fossil fuels got us to this place, and about disparity of wealth and inequality, and about exploitation and capitalism, and they just kind of like stop and tell you that this is what we're talking about now. We're talking about race now, and it's like, just let that emerge from the material, maybe, because that's what we should be doing here in the drama and not in the documentary. So Everybody is game here. The cast is giving it their all. The production design is amazing. This salt mine that they're in is a friggin' salt mine. But then, these very sort of Tony, tasteful rooms that they all live in are like, the hotel at the end of 2001 or something. But yeah, I just, I stand at a distance and admire the effort of this film without really like ever being moved by this film, except for Tilda Swinton's big number.
And I thought Michael Shannon's number 2, where he is at the edge of one of the sort of cliffs, the bluffs within the salt mine, like that's dramatic as well. There's some wondrous lighting here. And there are some like actual dance numbers that emerge from this. Amid the, really stripped down kind of austere nature of the salt mine. That contrast, I think he uses interestingly, because within the confines of this meticulously designed little mansion they've made for themselves, it all seems safe. They can all have like heady conversations about philosophy and about the book that he's working on and music and all this. And then when you step out, you realize, oh no, we're still stuck. And I think that contrast that yanks you back and forth emotionally can be quite unsettling and very effective.
There's a cool shot where George MacKay is singing and he's kind of backlit and he's under like this sort of chute where a bunch of like salt, I guess, is just kind of cascading downward. And it's like, oh, okay, that's a cool shot, But again, it's that thing of like, if I'm standing here admiring the parts and not just like swept away emotionally by something like this, then I think that's a bit of a failing. So like, again, I'm admiring, I just am not like moved.
I also have some questions.
Sure.
I have some questions about like, okay, so she shows up. There's some kind of breach within their secure fortress they've crafted for themselves. She shows up and they understandably question what to do with her. But there's never a conversation about like, wait, how does she get in here? And are more people going to come in
how do we
here?
keep anybody else from
How do we
getting in
shore
here,
it up, right? So that seems like you'd be worried about the security of this place. And if there is an opening, are they now exposed to whatever is happening on the outside?
Right.
Like there's a question there. And then they kind of explain how some things happen in terms of food, but other things like they do every holiday, right? Like Tilda Swinton talks about, it's really important to us to keep the holidays and maintain that normalcy. Like, where do they get all this stuff? Right?
I guess we know where they store it. They're in a salt mine, but yeah, there definitely is and like just an endless supply of outfits, And
impressionist art, which at least they speak to that. Like, okay, we knew, it's almost like Noah's Ark. Like we knew to squirrel away certain things for the perpetuation of the species or whatever. So,
which again, though, like you would think if they were more concerned about the perpetuation of the species, they would be a lot more welcoming to the woman who shows up, which they aren't, at first, at least. This is an admirable movie, and maybe that's damning with faint praise, but that's kind of the best I can go with it.
It's funny, though. We've had so many big swings this year. Like, I look at Megalopolis, too.
Yeah.
Right?
Amelia Perez.
Movies that are really trying something weird. Amelia Perez, also a musical that doesn't always work as a musical. Like, I admire that people are trying to marry and mix genres in this way, and that there are actors like Tilda Swinton and Moses Ingram and George MacKay and Michael Shannon who will do really weird, daring work. I love that exists in a world where we also have like Craven the Hunter coming soon. Like I love that we have weird stuff available to us here, which makes me wish I liked this better.
Yeah, I mean, I remember that when Megalopolis came out, there was this whole thing about like anybody who didn't give it a great review was like, oh, I guess you just want more Marvel movies. I'm like, well, no. These are not the choices. Like we can admire the reach, but like if it doesn't work, if we think it doesn't work, then it's up to us to say this doesn't work. And so yeah, I admire Joshua Oppenheimer for going for it in a big way. I just don't think he quite pulls it off.
And the fact that there are songs means it's like 2 hours and 20 minutes long, 2.5 hours long, something like that. And I think if you took all those out, there would be more inherent suspense and it wouldn't feel like it was being dragged out. Like when this music begins, it's like, oh, now why are we stopping to sing? Versus the reason that songs exist in a musical like this.
Yeah, I mean, usually, and obviously none of these are hard and fast rules, but generally the idea of a musical, I think at its pinnacle is the notion that like, this is a character telling you what you need to know about them. in a way they could never express in another way. And there's not a lot in most of these songs that couldn't just be, this could have been an email, this could have been a conversation.
Okay, I'm going to say 6. And a lot of that is for the production design of this place, which feels like a very elaborate stage production in some ways. Like walking through and around in each room, you get a real sense of place that they've created here. And then like the contrast of the salt mines. And that everyone's going for it, but I wish I liked it more.
Yeah, I'm at like a 6.2 for the same reason. I'm coming away with like, I may have to do a separate top 10 list this year of like great moments from movies that I was otherwise unmoved by, because I've definitely been collecting a few of those with a lot of these year-end films.
Well, The End comes out this weekend in limited release. If it's out near you, let us know if you're going to see it.